Tuesday night, waiting for my steak to rest. Gonna have a little bit of off the beaten path type wine, and I wish I knew a little bit more. Except Guibert, that was the guy's name. So, talking like this matters here, but it's a Daumas Gassac 2012. Label's a little banged up, so I learned about this, and this is from the Languedoc, so in France. Way down here, way south in France, way far away from, say, Bordeaux, which is all the way over here, and Burgundy, and some of the more well-known regions. But the Languedoc being an enormous region down here, Languedoc-Roussillon, and they make a number of different wines. On here, you know, it says Rhone Blend, Carignan, Rosé, Cremant de Limoux. There's just a lot of stuff down there. This one specifically is a Cabernet blend, mostly Cabernet. Looks like a little Merlot, Tannat, Cab Franc, few other grapes in very small minutia. So this is called, and on the label even says it, the Grand Cru. It's like a Grand Cru Languedoc red wine. They said if this wine was in Burgundy, it would cost far, far, far more. I'm pretty sure there's one better, slightly more expensive, better expression. Never found it. It's on my sort of wish list if I ever run into it, but I don't really actively search for it. I've had this wine, I think, once before, and it was really, really rustic. And it kind of reminded me of, it's certainly what a wine would be if it was many years before some of these riper style wines came about. Probably should have let it decant. Actually looks great. Hope it's not corked or in bad shape. Smells great. Smells really good. Wow. That smells exceptional, actually. Garrigue. I smell Garrigue. This would definitely lead me to believe GSM, Grenache Syrah Mourvedre, and from like the Southern Rhone. Absolutely. I would not. This is Cabernet heavy, right? 77% Cabernet Sauvignon. So I'm going to pause it just for a minute so I could read the back of the label. So I've read the back of the label, and it's specifically the one thing as far as a tagline. First growth of the Languedoc. That's what I remember. That it was sort of. I guess if my wine fridge is open, it starts beeping. That's new. So specifically speaks to being first growth of the Languedoc. So cab savvy, cab heavy blend, but it smells very old world, very rustic. It's, you know, saddle leather tobacco. There's definitely red currant, a little bit of black currant. There's that Garrigue, that sort of Garrigue from that Southern Rhone, which is sort of walking through an herb garden. It's very, very complex nose. And the color is great. It's got a little bit of bricking, so you could certainly showing its age a little bit. 2012. They recommend if you drink it within 5 years, it's going to show its freshness. 7 to 25, it shows sort of its depth and longevity. This wine has an awesome aroma. There are so many aromas jumping out at here between all the herbs and the rustic tertiary flavors, and then the red fruit, dried fruit, like dried raspberry, dried cherries. There is an awesome fennel licorice flavor in here. That's really nice. I really like that. I hate black licorice as a, like, sort of a food. Well, not food. I used to hate black licorice as a candy. But when I get it in wine, or I put a little bit of fennel in my meatballs, I love it when it's in wine. It's not like drinking Ouzo or Sambuca, Auroch, or some of those. It's a hint, but you can definitely taste it. Also, this also has that hint of that truffle, just a bit. So it's like that truffle black licorice. Really long length. Tannins are really silky. Sort of, I feel this wine's definitely great right now. I wouldn't want to age this any longer. Good acidity. It's not a huge mouthfeel or a huge full body wine, more like medium to medium plus, somewhere in there. Really intense, like really complex. You get some of that tertiary stuff. So a lot of those things on the nose, getting on the palate. I would not. It doesn't taste like classic Cabernet from Bordeaux, Napa. I remember when I first had this wine. I don't remember specifically, but I didn't think I would confuse this with a Southern Rhone. I absolutely would confuse this with a Southern Rhone. But then it's got these aged Bordeaux qualities. So it's got this Southern Rhone quality and then an aged Bordeaux quality. It definitely would confuse the crap out of me. I don't think I'd guess it was 77% from Languedoc. Never in a million years. Never in a million. Maybe 2 million. Maybe 1 billion. But, really like it. For what they said in the back of this label, it absolutely stays true to that. The alcohol is absolutely perfectly balanced. I guarantee this is not some big 14, 15%, because it doesn't even taste like it. 13. It tastes like 13. But it's in perfect balance for that. And that's probably why the mouthfeel and the alcohol is not making this feel even fuller. But it feels just perfect for what this is. And what this wants to be, which is an old world wine. And an old school style where it's just not overly heavily extracted. If I'm not mistaken, the proprietor of this was in a documentary I watched called Mondovino, and he's very much against what's happening in Bordeaux. If I remember it correctly, it's been a while since I watched it. The Guibert guy, I forget his first name, but very adamant that there's just so much manipulation going on. All these wine consultants, they fly in, they give all these recommendations to make the wines Parkerized. Actually, that's what a lot of his big complaint was. Robert Parker, being the #1 critic in the world, or his organization now, is far older than he once was. The lawyer out of Maryland that created the Wine Advocate, and then it's become a 100-point score, which has become sort of the benchmark. A lot of people knew what his likes were, and then people started trying to make wines for his palate. So very much against that was this gentleman in Mondovino. And he was very much against some of these wine consultants, and I won't specify names and anything, but there was a story in 1982 where Robert Parker gave some chateau a bad review, and they sent the dog after him in a chateau, and that was a story Robert Parker tells too. I'll try not to focus on scores. I try to focus on what I like, exploration. Scores will certainly drive wine, will drive prices, is marketing. I get it. My favorite store, one of my favorite stores, Princeton Corkscrew, no scores at all anywhere in the store. A lot of hand selling, or you walk in and just explore. Try this, try that. All their wines in there. I've never been to a store where there's just nothing but quality wine at all price points, from low teens to the hundreds. So this is going to be very interesting with steak. I think it's going to be great. It's reminding me, like I said, of a blend between Bordeaux and Southern Rhone, aged in both regards, but really intriguing and really interesting and really good. I wouldn't say this is everyone's type of wine, especially with this many years on. I bet you younger, it might taste a little very different. Sort of got to like aged red. You sort of got to like all this herbal components. Not going to be this big Napa juicy fruit bomb cab where it's all these unctuous fruits, but it's going to be these fruits that are a little bit more tempered, well tempered, and all these other tertiary flavors and other flavors all jumping out in the aroma and certainly on the palate as well at a really reasonable sort of what wine used to be in that 11, 12, 13% back in the 70s and 80s. And now it's certainly gone up with either winemaking techniques, ripeness, climate shift, whatever you want to call it. This is awesome. 4.5, maybe 5. Languedoc, I don't think I've had a better, more interesting red from the Languedoc region. It's getting a 5. 5 out of 5 on Vivino for me, for sure. Hitting me in the right place at the right time. Again, I see how it goes with the steak. I'm already at almost 11 minutes on a singular wine here, but sort of deserves all the praise of it being what it wants to be. There's no identity crisis here. This is exactly what they want it to be, exactly what it says on the label, and it's super interesting and very different. Good stuff. Well done. I will do a little bit more research on this property, probably seek it out a little bit more, maybe look for the higher expression that I've been wondering about. Price, I think these were $30. $30, I think, and that's why I bought 2 of them. The labels are banged up. Nobody's looking for this. Nothing on here says anything. You have to look at the back. Great, you'll know that it's got Cabernet in it, heavy Cabernet. Other than that, who's buying this? But I knew it I knew the proprietor from Mondovino. I remember the wine, Daumas Gassac, and that's why I grabbed it and I bought it. So that's it. Time to have some dinner. Pair this with the steak. And most definitely, if I were doing another video tomorrow, probably the day after, see how this wine evolves, and I'll speak a little bit more to how it was with the steak. So that's it.